Western Outlaw Josey Wales won millions of viewers, but the real-life stories of its actors were even more tragic than the script. Accidents, diseases, addictions, and painful deaths have destroyed their lives. And now, looking back, their net worth in 2025 reveals a shocking truth about the price of fame. Let's find out. Clint Eastwood as Josey Wales. Clint Eastwood, whose full name is Clinton Eastwood Jr., was born on May 31, 1930 in San Francisco, California. At age 46, he played Josey Wales in The Outlaw, 1976, a Missouri farm girl who becomes an outlaw after her family is killed during the Civil War. This role not only cemented Eastwood's position as Hollywood's #1 action star, but also reflected his tough, cold, and contradictory personality. Eastwood's personal life was a long series of tensions and losses. His strict and brutal father left deep scars on his childhood, causing him to grow up fearful and rebellious. In 1951, while serving in the armed forces, he was nearly killed in a plane crash on Skilmuti, leaving him scarred by the thin line between life and death. But he compensated for that uncertainty with his unrelenting ambition in film, becoming one of the most powerful figures in Hollywood. His professional success was in stark contrast to his romantic life. Eastwood married twice, but both marriages ended in violent conflicts. His marriage to Maggie Johnson, which lasted more than 3 decades, was marked by infidelity, and his second marriage to Dina Ruiz was also fraught with conflict. He has at least 8 children with different women, some of whom were born out of wedlock. His long-term relationship with actress Sandra Locke ended in fierce lawsuits and accusations, which made Eastwood the center of scandal for years. His dysfunctional family, estrangement from his children, and public criticism further tarnished his image. Today, Clint Eastwood, at the age of 95, is one of the few remaining Hollywood icons. He spends most of his time at his California ranch, occasionally directing smaller projects. With an estimated net worth of $375 million from film and real estate, he became a living witness to the entire golden age of Hollywood. Sandra Locke as Laura Lee. Sandra Locke, born Sandra Louise Smith, was born on May 28, 1944 in Shelbyville, Tennessee. In 1976, and at the age of 32, she played Laura Lee in Outlaw Josey Wales, 1976, a young woman who survives the murder of her family and finds support in Josey. This role established Locke as a key female character in Clint Eastwood's films, marking the beginning of their on-screen collaboration and also marked the beginning of a stormy and dramatic real-life romance. Locke, who had a difficult childhood, was the center of attention. Her parents separated, family relations were broken, and she grew up with a constant feeling of abandonment. Her marriage to the sculptor Gordon Anderson lasted more than half a century, but in name only, as he was gay, and their relationship was more like a brother-sister relationship than a marriage. When she got involved with Clint Eastwood, she thought she had found peace, but instead, it brought years of stress, scrutiny, and relentless psychological pressure. Her life with Eastwood ended in a stormy conflict. He moved the Locke family home, stripped them of all financial means, and forced them into a grueling legal battle. She accused him of forcing her to have an abortion, mentally abusing her and depriving her of motherhood, and Hollywood turned her back on her career. In the 1990 SED, Locke was diagnosed with breast cancer, which required a mastectomy and chemotherapy. Although she found joy in a new relationship, she spent much of her life in solitude, quietly retreating from the once glamorous world of film. On November 3, 2018, Sandra Locke passed away in Los Angeles at the age of 74 from cardiac arrest related to breast and bone cancer. Her ashes were cremated at Westwood Village Memorial Park, leaving her nominal husband, C. Gordon Anderson, an estate estimated at approximately $20 million, which came primarily from her acting career and her acclaimed memoir, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Chief Dan George is Lone Waity. Chief Dan George, born Geswanuth Slahut, was born on July 24, 1899 in North Vancouver in Canada. In the 1976 film Outlaw Josey Wales, at the age of 77, he played Lone Waity, a Native American warrior who survived the tragedy of his tribe and accompanied Josey on her quest for revenge. The role is moving and intellectual, reflecting the traumatic and difficult life he lived. George's childhood was marked by discrimination and injustice. At the age of 5, he was forced to live in a boarding school, where his name, Slahut, was erased and replaced with George, leaving him scarred with a loss of identity. In his childhood, he worked as a manual laborer, a coastal worker, a bus driver, and a construction worker. Later, as chief of the Tsleil-Waututh Nation, he witnessed the gradual extermination of his people's land, language, and culture. This pain permeated his performances, leaving the audience with memories not only that he was an actor, but also that he was a voice of resistance. His personal life was also marked by loss. George married Amy George in 1926, and they spent more than half a century together, raising 6 children. However, in 1978, Amy passed away after 52 years of marriage, leaving him with a deep void. Her death plunged him into depression, and his already fragile health further deteriorated. Despite this, he continued to perform on stage, in films, and in public appearances, using poetry and art to advocate for the rights of Indigenous people. On September 23, 1981, Chief Dan George died of heart failure in North Vancouver at the age of 82. His estimated net worth of $1 million comes from a brilliant but last-minute career, an Oscar nomination for Little Big Man, memorable roles and poetry collections like My Heart Soars. Paula Truman as Mrs. Sarah. Paula Truman was born on April 25, 1897 in New York. In the film Outlaw Josey Wales, 1976, at the age of 79, she played Mrs. Sarah, a fragile but courageous widow who symbolized perseverance and hope amid the turmoil of the Civil War. With her petite stature and mischievous, twinkling eyes, Truman made an indelible impression, transforming her character into a symbol of humanity in this brutal film. However, her off-screen life was filled with tragedy. She lost her husband, architect Harold Sterner, in 1976 after 40 years of marriage, and spent the last years of her life alone. As a young woman, she witnessed the war take away many of her loved ones, a trauma that followed her throughout her life. To fill that void, she devoted herself to Broadway shows, immersing herself in each performance to escape reality. Her dedication to the stage also affected her physical health. In a 1950 East play, Truman fell off a horse on stage, sustaining a lifelong spinal injury. Decades of smoking further weakened her health. Despite this, she continued to act determinedly, appearing in Broadway musicals, films, Woody Allen hits, and more, becoming a familiar face to older supporting actors throughout the 1970s and 1980s. Paula Truman died on March 23, 1994 in New York of natural causes at the age of 96. Her net worth, estimated at $500,000, is primarily a result of her Broadway career and supporting roles in movies. Bill McKinney as Captain Terrell. Bill McKinney was born on September 12, 1931 in Chattanooga, Tennessee. In 1976, he starred in the movie Outlaw Josey Wales as Captain Terrell, the infamous leader of the Red Legs who hunted Josey Wales until her death at the age of 45. His character personified the brutality and cruelty of war, becoming one of McKinney's most legendary villains. He had a difficult childhood, moving with his family dozens of times and suffering beatings just for being from Tennessee. At just 19, he joined the Navy at the height of the Korean War, living daily with tension and the fear of death. After being discharged, McKinney turned to alcohol to numb the pain and took on dangerous jobs, such as logging, to survive. Although his passion for acting helped him escape from a harsh life, the darkness of his childhood and war remained with him, creating a strong image both on and off the screen. After his breakthrough role as the Mountain Man in Deliverance, 1972, McKinney was quickly cast as the villain. However, his potential proved to be an obstacle, as audiences and filmmakers saw him as a familiar face of evil, while his personal life was riddled with conflict. 2 short-lived marriages ended in divorce. He clashed with his son, struggled with alcohol and gambling, and was even arrested for drunk driving. A near-fatal car accident further weakened his health, but McKinney continued his acting career, appearing in more than 100 films and dozens of television series. Bill McKinney died in California of esophageal cancer at the age of 80 on December 1, 2011. His 2-year illness closed a chapter in a life filled with tragedy and sacrifice. His net worth at the time of his death, estimated at $2 million, came primarily from his extensive film career and memorable villain roles. Matt Clark as Kelly. Matt Clark was born on November 25, 1936 in Washington, D.C. In 1976, at the age of 40, he played Kelly in Outlaw Josey Wales, 1976, one of Josey Wales's companions on a quest for revenge. With his rugged face and lean frame, Clark quickly became a household name in westerns, often playing supporting roles that added authenticity and depth to the stories. Clark's youth was marked by hardship and emotional turmoil. After leaving the army, he entered civilian life bearing the trauma of the ordeal he had experienced. He was forced to do hard and unstable jobs in order to survive. This instability led him to alcohol, which became his only companion during long, lonely nights. Alcoholism gradually destroyed his family life, culminating in a bitter divorce. A man who once dreamed of a brilliant career now saw his personal happiness destroyed, leaving scars that never fully healed. The difficulties did not stop there. In 1972, he suffered serious brain damage in a serious car accident, which forced him to abandon his acting career and throw himself into poverty. Clark struggled with physical pain and the burden of fatherhood as his career stalled. He often admitted that he felt abandoned by Hollywood, relegated to minor supporting roles that never cemented his reputation or provided him with an income. Physical pain, financial stress, and loneliness made her feel like she couldn't go on. But faith in art was what kept him going, gave him a reason to get up and persevere. Today, Matt Clark is 89 years old and lives peacefully in California. He gave up alcohol and cigarettes, decided to live a simple life with his family, occasionally attends film seminars and supports smaller projects. After more than half a century of dedication, he left his mark in over 50 films and dozens of television roles. His estimated net worth is $4 million, largely built on a steady and persistent career as a supporting actor, a testament to his perseverance in the face of the rigors of a challenging industry. Sam Bottoms as Jamie. Sam Bottoms was born on October 17, 1955 in Santa Barbara, California. In 1976, at the age of 21, He played Jamie in Outlaw Josey Wales, a passionate Southerner who soon becomes a casualty of war. This role was a crucial step for Bottom to step out of the shadow of his older brother, Timothy, and establish himself among the promising talents of Hollywood. However, Bottom's professional trajectory was soon overshadowed by dark events in his personal life. While still young, he turned to drugs and alcohol, which initially seemed like a relief, but later became self-destructive, leading to a deterioration in his health and professional image. After the huge success of Apocalypse Now, a parasitic infection he contracted while filming in the Philippines severely damaged his liver, leaving permanent scars. The pressures of acting, combined with family instability, drove him into increasing isolation, unable to maintain the original brilliance that audiences saw in him. His personal life was also turbulent. His first marriage ended in divorce, leaving him bitter and disillusioned with love. His relations with his brothers, also actors, were often strained by professional rivalry and personal conflicts. A motorcycle accident in 1985 broke his ribs and ended his career. In the following years, he had financial difficulties, eventually going bankrupt due to cocaine addiction and bad decisions. On December 16, 2008, Sam Bottoms died at the age of 53 after a battle with brain cancer that was diagnosed too late to treat. He left behind 2 children and the memory of a former brilliant talent that faded too soon. At the time of his death, his net worth was estimated at $1 million, mostly from film and television. Geraldine Keams as a Little Moonlight. Geraldine Keams was born on August 19, 1951 in Flagstaff, Arizona. In 1976, she starred in the action film Josey Wales, where at the age of 25 she played a young, gentle, but brave Indian woman who symbolizes the survival and courage of Indian women in times of war. This was her first film role and laid the groundwork for her later career playing Navajo women. Keams's childhood was filled with loss and pain. She lost her mother at a young age, leaving a void that nothing could fill. Pursuing a career in art, she took this pain with her to Hollywood, where she faced racism again. Film studios saw her as a Navajo, suitable for supporting roles rather than an aspiring artist. Every rejection was not only personal humiliation but also social exclusion. The pressures of her career soon spilled over into her personal life, leading to the dissolution of her only marriage. Her ex-husband could not cope with the pressures of work and cultural differences, leaving her alone. Keams sometimes turned to alcohol to numb the pain and escape the overwhelming reality. In 1992, a fall on stage resulted in a serious leg injury, which forced her to stop performing. Bedridden, she felt as if her voice had been taken away. But in those darkest days, she realized she had to rise again to continue telling Navajo stories and preserve her identity. Today, Geraldine Keams is 74 years old and lives in Pasadena, California. He continues to act in films and television series such as Reservation Dogs, Rutherford Falls, and Dark Winds, and teaches storytelling and performance workshops to preserve Navajo folklore. Her net worth is estimated at $1 million, primarily thanks to her work in film, theater, and cultural preservation. Sheb Wooley as Travis Cobb. Sheb Wooley was born on April 10, 1921 in Erican, Oklahoma. In 1976, at the age of 55, he starred in the movie Outlaw Josey Wales in the role of Travis Cobb, a daring bounty hunter who brought the rustic feel of the Old West to the film. In addition to acting, Wooley was also a talented singer and songwriter, best known internationally for his 1958 hit comedy Purple People Eater. His career spanned both film and popular music. Behind this brilliance lay a long history of pain and inner struggle that Wooley carried throughout his life. Early in his life, he was plagued by numerous rodeo injuries that destroyed his dreams of joining the military during World War II. As for his marriage, his worldwide career and promiscuous lifestyle destroyed 2 relationships, leaving behind a loss from which he never fully recovered. Alcoholism and gambling destroyed the vast wealth he had amassed through his success, leaving his family in a state of tension and discord. The pain was compounded when one of his daughters died in an accident in the 1970 Zyboids, leaving a hole in his heart that no amount of success could heal. Although he continued to perform on stage and on television, Wooley's heart hardened and his body weakened from alcohol and cigarettes. A near-fatal car accident in 1960 foreshadowed the toll on his health. In 1996, a diagnosis of leukemia forced him to retire. In his later years, he continued to compose music, using it as therapy to combat the loneliness and illness that consumed him. On September 16, 2003, Sheb Wooley died in Nashville, Tennessee, at the age of 82, after a 7-year battle with leukemia. He is buried at Hendersonville Memorial Garden Cemetery, along with many other country music stars. His net worth at the time of his death was estimated at $5 million, converted to $2,025, including his music, movies, and performances. His legacy lives on, not only through his challenging performances on screen, but also through his music, where laughter and sadness coexist, reflecting a life at once grand and marked. Will Sampson as 10 Bears. Will Sampson was born on September 27, 1933 in Okmulgee, Oklahoma. At the age of 43, he played 10 Bears in the 1976 film Outlaw Josey Wales, a wise Indian chief who embodied the pride and dignity of his people in the face of oppression. Tall and imposing, Sampson gave a moving performance that captured the pain and suffering of an entire nation. Sampson's childhood was marked by poverty and humiliation from a marginalized community. He grew up under the apartheid regime, where indigenous people were humiliated, forced to live on the margins of society, and had limited opportunities for advancement. He spent his early years in the dangerous rodeo arenas, where he made a living for 20 years trading bread for blood and wounds that never fully healed. In the long nights after the rodeo, Sampson struggled with the loneliness of a man condemned to a life of abandonment, turning to alcohol and cigarettes for temporary relief, addictions that eventually destroyed his health. The path towards the film brought him fame, but also a deep personal tragedy. 2 failed marriages left him with an empty and disappointed family life. His children also suffered. William Lance was killed in a drunk driving accident, and Robert was killed years later. Sampson himself battled scleroderma, a devastating disease that gradually destroyed his heart, lungs, and even his skin. He used to weigh 250 pounds and was a fighter, but his body has shrunk to just 145 pounds, leaving him weak and emaciated. A horse-drawn carriage accident in 1985 further damaged his internal organs, forcing him to undergo a heart and lung transplant with little chance of survival. On June 3, 1987, Will Sampson died in Houston, Texas, at the age of 53 due to complications from surgery. He left an estimated $2 million estate, mostly from movies like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Josey Wales, Outlaw, and projects dedicated to his hometown community. Will Sampson lives on in the memories of Muskogee visitors and residents alike. Woodrow Parfrey as Carpetbagger. Woodrow Parfrey was born in New York on October 5, 1922. In 1976, he starred in the movie Outlaw Josey Wales as Carpetbagger, a 54-year-old opportunist who used the post-Civil War chaos to make money. Although a small role, it perfectly reflected the eccentric and cool characters that Parfrey often played on screen, which made him a famous supporting character in many American films. Parfrey's childhood was filled with suffering. He was orphaned as a teenager and grew up in extreme poverty during the Great Depression. He enlisted in the army hoping to change his life, but the war only brought him more suffering. He was seriously wounded in the Battle of the Bulge and captured by the Germans. His captivity haunted him for the rest of his life, leaving him with a hardened spirit, still marked by fear and mistrust. The scars of the war remained with him for the rest of his life. Upon his return, he sought peace in his marriage to Rosa Elevich, but alcohol, cigarettes, and gambling became his temporary escape from constant nightmares. A suffocating marriage and repeated professional failures made him increasingly withdrawn and impulsive. He had 4 children, but the weight of his emotional struggles often created distance between father and children. Despite his unwavering commitment to acting, he remained a minor character, always projecting a strange persona on screen that reflected the tormented soul he carried in real life. On July 29, 1984, Woodrow Parfrey died in Los Angeles of a sudden heart attack at the age of 61. He left behind an incredible artistic legacy, which includes over 200 film and television roles and an estimated net worth of $1 million. John Vernon as Captain Fletcher. John Vernon was born on February 24, 1932 in Zaner, Saskatchewan, Canada. In 1976, at the age of 44, he starred in the movie Outlaw Josey Wales in the role of Captain Fletcher, a stern northern officer who symbolized poise and authority in turbulent times in the United States. With his tall stature and deep voice, Vernon convincingly embodied the character, cementing his reputation as a familiar face in villain roles. Off-screen, however, Vernon's life was filled with disappointment. His first marriage ended in 1970 due to infidelity, leaving him empty and disillusioned. His second marriage also failed, and the stress at work and his lifestyle distanced him from his family. He turned to alcohol to cope, and smoking and overeating quickly destroyed his heart. Behind his strong screen persona, Vernon hid emotional conflicts and family estrangement. His decades-long career never deviated from the stereotype of corrupt authorities. After Dirty Harry and Outlaw Josey Wales, he was constantly cast as tyrannical mayors, bureaucrats, CEOs, and generals. While this brought him fame, it also limited his ability to portray more complex characters. He suffered the biggest blow in his life in 1995, when his son died in a car accident, which threw him into a long-term depression. Although he continued to act, advertise, and appear on television, he always felt a void that he could not fill. On February 1, 2005, John Vernon died in Los Angeles at the age of 72 due to complications from heart surgery. His net worth, estimated at $3 million, comes from dozens of film and television roles, as well as voice work.